Hello, so let's make this beautiful Bubu style. So as you can see, this is African print, is on fold already. So I just fold it to two as per the longest side. So now I'm going to measure the gown length. So you start from the beginning and measure the gown length. So I'll cut that out so that it can be easy to move the fabric around. So now I'm going to measure the bust point. So from the shoulder to the bust point to the pointed part of your breast. So I'll mark that. Then I'll roll. Okay. Then go ahead and measure the neckline. So I just measure 3 inches first. If you like, you can make it 4. So I'll measure the neckline. And also, I'm going to create the shoulder slope by just marking ½ inch at the end of the fabric there, just to have a little bit of slanted line. So now I'll be extending the neckline to 4 inches. Like I said, it depends on what you want. So I'll be using a V neckline. So I came down by about 7 inches for the neck depth. And I don't just want a very sharp V. So that's why I'm using some parts of the curve ruler to create that V. So that's for the front. Then on the bust point, I'm going to measure the widest part of the client's body. So that means I'll be using the hip measurement. So the hip measurement is 36 divided by 4. That's 9. So I'll be measuring the 9 inches. Okay. If your client's largest part is a bust, you use a bust. Then I added 6 inches extra. That means I'll be using 5 inch for additional inches, then 1 inch for joining allowance. So whatever I measured on the bust line, I'm going to measure it all through the length. You can see I measured a straight line down. So now on the chest line, I went up by 1 inch in order to create the sleeve curve. But we'll come back to that. Now I'm going to measure the shoulder length, 7.5. Then after the shoulder length, you're not going to decide how wide you want your sleeve to be. Okay. So now I'm just trying to calculate my sleeve length. Okay. We are cutting everything together. Then I added seam allowance also. So now I'm going to create the sleeve just like this. So I went up by 1 inch on the bust from the bust point. So I'm going to just watch the way I'm creating the sleeve, and I'm joining the sleeve to the bodice. So this is what we have. So just create a cool curve then we'll cut it out. Okay. So that's all about the bubble for the front. So I folded the remaining fabric again, folded into 2, and I'm going to place the front piece over it. So the only difference is just going to be the neckline. So the neckline for the back, now the neck width had to be the same, but the neck depth can be different. So now my neck width, I decided to make it 3.5 again. At some point I made it 4 inches. Now I'm making it 3.5 inches. I don't want it to be too wide for this particular client. So I went on to draw the V-neck again. Okay. Then for the neck depth for the back, I measured the 1.5 inch. Then I'll create it this way. Okay. So I'm going to pin it down to make sure it will not move. So I'm going to cut out the back neckline first. Then I'll trim out the shape also, as in the trace out the bodies. Then I lifted the upper part to cut out the V-neck. Don't make the mistake of cutting it together, please. Okay. So now I'll be inserting pocket into this. So I went on to measure where the waistline is going to be, the actual waistline. So that's the point for this client's waistline. Then I'll come down by 1 inch. So at that 1 inch, I have to notch it so that when I'm sewing, it will be easy for me to locate where the pocket to be attached. So this is it for the cutting. Okay, so the next thing now is to go ahead and introduce the plain fabric that I'll be using for to style it. I'm going to style it a bit. So I have this satin, this plain color. So I'm going to fold it into two and do some styles in the front. So align it properly. You have to align it and figure out how exactly the style is going to be. Okay, so I went ahead to refold. So I want this style to extend to somewhere under bust or the waistline. So that's why you just have to trace out how you want it to be before removing the main fabric. Okay, so let's open it up and see how we can style this. So I'm just going to follow this pattern carefully. But like I said, you can be creative with it. Please design any kind of style you're comfortable with. So I'll go on and fold in 1/2 inch, then press it down so that I'll be able to top stitch it on the fabric. So iron it. Ironing the folded part helps a lot. So then on the sleeve now, I'm going to be adding the plain satin also. So I need to remove some inches I'm going to be replacing by the satin. Okay, so now let's do the sewing. So this is a V-neck for the front. So I've opened it up. So we need to attach the design to the neck. You can see I've ironed the edges. So in order to attach this, we need to pick the right side of this satin and attach it to the inside of the Ankara in order to join the neck. So now I'm going to turn the African print to the wrong side, then attach the right side of the satin onto it at the neckline. So you pin it down, make sure it is well aligned. You can see the right side of the satin to the wrong side of the African print. So arrange it properly and use your pin, then stitch on 1/2 inch. Carefully sew your V-neck. Just watch it carefully. So this is it. I'll remove the pin and also notch where necessary. So that part, make sure you notch it properly. So this is it. You turn it over. You can see the neckline is done and it's neat. Then you need to iron it in order to align properly. So this is it. I've ironed. Now I've also pinned down the edges. So you go on and top stitch now. So I've done that. You can see the design now is well fixed. This is what it looks like. So also the back neckline, I went on to turn it by using a bias tape. Okay, so the inside of the neckline, of the back neckline, is covered with a bias tape. So now I place the front and back together. Make sure the neck align properly and the shoulder is well placed. Then you're going to stitch at the shoulder down to the sleeve length with your desired sewing allowance. You can use 1/2 inch or 1 inch. Okay, So I realized I didn't trim the back part of the sleeve. So you do the same thing for the other side also. Join it at the shoulder down to the sleeve length. Okay. So also going to trim out the excess of this too. Then, so this is it. Before we join the side seam, we need to measure round whatever we have on the sleeve round. So this is going to guide us in cutting out the other pieces. So just watch the way I'm going to fold it. So I'm going to join it like a skirt band, but if you like, you can just run the two, bring the mouth together and just run it at once. So I first stitch from the inside, then I turn it to the right side and top stitch. See what I'm doing here? So just use the method that works for you. Okay, so just do this, and if you also pin it down, it helps. So you top stitch carefully while removing the pins. So this is what we have. Okay, still back to the, okay, we're going to do the same thing for the other side too. So also stop stitch carefully. So now that all that is done, trim off any excess. Then still working on the wrong side of the fabric. So you bring the sleeve round together and measure maybe ½ inch or 1 inch in order to join the front and back together. Just watch what I'm doing carefully. So when I get to the point where I mark for the pocket, I stop. You're going to lock it properly. Then I measure about 5 inch. You can measure 5 inches or 5.5 inches in order to create space for the inseam pocket. And I'll be doing the same thing for the other side too, because we'll be attaching an inseam pocket. Okay, so this is what we've done so far. It's so simple, guys. So this is the hand, the neckline, and the beautiful bodies. So that's the opening for the pocket, which we're going to be attaching the pocket bag. So this is it. So I'm going to be using this piece for the pocket bag. The length is about 10 inches, then the width too is about 7-8 inches. It depends on how wide you want your pocket to be. So I just have to work with the leftover pieces I have. Okay, so watch the way I'm going to sew. I'm going to close one end, then the second side, the same measurements I left for the entrance of the pocket, I'm going to measure it on the pocket bag, then stitch the remaining parts. That's a wonderful way of another wonderful way of making a pocket bag. Okay, so this with this method, even when you have something inside your pockets, you'll be sure that it's not going to fall off. Now note that we'll be attaching the pocket bag to the dress using the seam allowance. So you can see I've opened up the dress, I've opened up the seam allowance, then you open up the seam allowance on the pocket also and attach them accordingly. So let them fall properly. in a way that when you insert your hand from outside, it's going to enter the back. So avoid mixing them up. So you're going to stitch on the seam allowance. So you do the first time, the first side, then you can see, pick the other side also, attach it to the seam allowance on the dress and stitch on the seam allowance. Do not seal off the pocket opening. Please be cautious of that. Then you stitch. If your seam allowance is about half inch, that means that you're going to stitch on that half inch or a quarter inch. So you do the same process for the second side. And yes, once you're done with that, our dress is ready. Then you go ahead and hem you do the hemming at the down part and give it a good press. And yes, the dress is ready. Okay. So if you enjoyed this video to this point, please give it a thumbs up. Okay, and please subscribe to my channel. So this is the end result. Okay, so I hope you find this video helpful. Please remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you and stay blessed. Bye.